Africa has played host to some amazing leaps in our evolution, from upright walking to the development of stone tools. However, one cultural aspect that not many people associate with this continent is the burial of the sadly departed. This, however, may be a result of a number of factors such as a lack of any evidence, with the oldest known burial site from the continent dating back only 70,000 years, which is in contrast to those humans found elsewhere who seemingly had been burying their dead for well over 120,000 years. But what if the history of burial practices in Africa was a lot older than 70,000 years? And what if the practice of burying our dead predated our species entirely?
See, that idea comes from a site just north of where I am currently standing called Rising Star Cave. In 2013, a pair of cavers were exploring a then unknown region of the cave when they came across something disturbing. A chamber whose floors were littered with hominin bones. Sensing the enormity of the find, the pair alerted paleoanthropologist Dr. Lee Berger, who ordered the bones to be excavated. In total, bones belonging to 15 individuals were recovered and were later found to be representative of an entirely new species, Homo naledi.
This new species was distinguishable by its rather unique morphology. While having features similar to those of more modern species, such as its hands and feet, it also had several adaptations seen in early human species, such as a smaller brain size and a more primitive dentition. This mosaic of features isn't just what made Homo naledi unique, as although initially believed to be around 1 to 2 million years old, dating of the fossils placed them as being only 300 to 200,000 years old. This completely changed our understanding of Homo evolution, as the idea that a small-brained hominin had survived this late was utterly new. But along with all this, the placing of the bodies within the cave brought about one very interesting idea, that these bodies had been placed and buried there.
See, whether the finds at Rising Star Cave represent the earliest known burial has been an argument that has been going on since its discovery. Apparently, the cave was inaccessible to predators, which ruled out the idea they were killed and brought there. Apparently, no sign of flooding was found within the cave either, so they couldn't have been washed there. And also, the bodies showed no signs of trauma, indicating that they were possibly placed within the chamber, which led to the idea that it represented a burial site. As you can imagine, this statement was seen as very controversial, as it would push back the earliest known hominin burial site by over 100,000 years.
Furthermore, in 2024, a paper looking at the variation between the individuals found at Rising Star Cave raised some interesting points. They found that of the 15 bodies found, there was a surprisingly low amount of morphological difference between them. This led to several theories as to why, but most notably for the burial theory was a hypothesis that stated that the individuals of Homo naledi found may represent a population of closely related individuals. This led to the idea that this group may have buried their dead within the cave, and the lack of variation is due to this representing a family group. However, this idea is almost impossible to test without DNA evidence. The paper also pointed out that this similarity may result from this species exhibiting low variation between the sexes, or that the individuals in the cave may represent just one sex.
See, and that's the problem. Most of the evidence used to suggest that Rising Star Cave is indeed a burial site can be explained by other means, or at worst, can be disproven entirely. See, since its discovery, Berger and colleagues have been adamant that the cave represents a burial site, and in 2023, analysed the soil within the chamber and compared it to other regions within the cave. They found that the soil within the chamber had been disturbed, and suggested that this may be the result of digging and burying of the bodies. However, in 2024, Folk et al. Tried to replicate this study, and found no difference. So, they tried using other methods, and once again, found no difference. Furthermore, they looked at older papers which state that there was evidence of flowstone and erosion within the cave. Along with this, papers published by Berger and colleagues state how the bodies were possibly disturbed by flooding, going against the idea that no water had entered the cave.
So Homo naledi probably didn't bury their dead.
However, Folk et al. Leave the paper off on a high note. They state how they do not deny the fact that a small-brained hominin is capable of performing complex behaviors, and are excited by the prospect and the implications it would have for human evolution. And if Homo naledi was indeed found to be able to perform complex human behaviors, then it would make it an even more fascinating member of the human evolutionary tree. However, this is far from the first time that something was found to be much older in human evolution. And if you want to hear about that, click the video on the screen. Until next time, bye-bye.